Anyway, welcome everyone to the SoulFull Session live on Whimsy is Away. Oh my word. It is an incredible feeling when you have a phenomenal community that when you go away to do a workshop in person, that you actually ache and miss everybody and you can't wait to see everyone again. That's how I felt being away. And Todd was busy with our boys, and it's just incredible to be back together again. Hi, Victoria. I think Victoria is new with us today. I'm just so excited that all of you are here. Rebecca, hi, sweetheart. Oh, sending lots of love to London, darling. She said, hi, Jennifer and Todd, welcome back. It's so awesome to be back. Oh, I love those little hearts. That's amazing. Hola, you two. Hola, ¿cómo estás, my beautiful friend in Spain? Sarah, so awesome to see you. And I just have to thank all those in our community in the SoulFull Collective membership for keeping it all alive, for keeping Whimsy alive. So, bien, she's doing well. That's awesome. Welcome everyone to the Sunday SoulFull Session Live. Todd and I have been away for a few weeks because we've been whimsically following the voice within to various places, and we've got lots to share with you today. And so today's theme is about whimsy as a way of life. And as is true in this whole soulful way, as we pick these themes, these values to focus on month to month, it is incredible what comes up by way of whatever that is. And so for those of you that are new, my name is Jennifer Maki, and this is my better half.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Todd, Maggie. And so we've been doing this soulful way since just the beginning of the year. And it's been incredible how it's grown exponentially. And that's all possible because of you. And so this actually stems from the work that I've been doing in the world for about 20 years on values action alignment, working with healthcare, working with educators, working with companies and nonprofits on how we take what we truly love in our lives and bring that to the forefront. And the Soulful Way is born from that because I just saw over my 20 plus career how people's lives shifted both personally in their relationships and then professionally in the world. And so Todd and I had a little spark of inspiration kind of in the new year and said, let's do this together. And Todd's background is working with Disney and corporations and education, working in marketing and of elevating teams and working with teams and inspiring them. So it's been a beautiful blend and we've been having a lot of fun. And there's been a lot of whimsy happening this month in particular. Paula, I see new. Welcome. So glad you're here. So, what we like to do in the beginning is just a little, we call it the emptying. And it's really the emptying to fill with something new, with something whimsical. And so, what I'd ask you to do just now is just taking a deep breath and a moment to just, set your things aside, put your feet on the ground, and to just kind of let the busyness of the morning or the afternoon, wherever you are in the time frame of things in the world, to just let things go. So I just ask you to just close your eyes or find a soft spot and a gaze on the ground and just take some deep breaths to just become present together. And just breathing out and letting go. Just recognizing that a gift of a moment to self and in community is a treasure. There's nothing else to do in the next little while but just be together and have some fun. Breathing in and letting go of your thoughts. And then I want you to imagine in your mind this cup, the teacup, a mug, one that you love that maybe has a story or a history. And I want you to see within that mug all the liquid of your life, all the beautiful things that make up your beautiful existence, your days. And also within that teacup or that mug, the challenges and the worries. We all have them, and they can feel like they're brimming to overflowing sometimes. And so just seeing all that fullness of life as that liquid in the cup, and it's even spilling over the edge a little bit. And then taking that teacup or that mug, looking into that liquid of your life and tucking all the beautiful bits into your heart, keeping them close, cherishing them. And then imagining pouring all the rest out. Just let it slide out of the teacup, spilling onto the ground. Feel the release. And then turning the cup upright again, looking inside and seeing the spaciousness, the emptiness. Oh, just feeling the relax in that, to just let go of what no longer serves and be ready to fill it with what does. And then I want you to just imagine in your mind the word and the feeling of whimsy, being whimsical. What images or words or memories or hopes come to mind? And just feeling the lightness of that word. And just realizing that for the next little while, you get to just play and be in that presence of whimsy. And when you're ready, wiggle your toes and your fingers. Just come back into the moment and come back to the room with us. It's just such a gift when we can kind of let go of the moments of the busyness of life and just come into this place of presence and togetherness. And there's something about that word whimsy that is so magical in my mind. And so we love to put out a question into the ether, into our audience. And I want you to think about this as we're sharing in our own way. I would love you to just pop your thoughts into the chat, whatever comes. We don't need to dig deep. We don't need to engage our minds. We're kind of getting to that soulful joy within us that just kind of spills over with the words or images that come. And so the question for you is, what is whimsy to me? And so I just want you from that little meditation, whatever comes, or if you're just joining us, what is whimsy to me? And I want you to think about that and then just jot. It doesn't even have to make sense. Little images or words that come to mind, just pop them into the chat. And then after Todd and I share, and then we're going to come back and we're going to address all of your little whimsical comments. So I really appreciate it. It makes us feel like we're not talking at you, that we're actually in the room together. So I so appreciate that. I see Sarah jumped right in and said fun. We're coming back to that. So we'll give you guys some time to do that. So first of all, I'm going to pose that question to you, beautiful Todd. So what's whimsy to you? What does that mean for you? I know you've been thinking about that a lot this last few weeks.
Yeah, you know what? It's one of those topics that's so broad that there's so many things you can talk about. So I'm going to try to encapsulate a bunch of the things. But the one line that came to me when I started thinking about this is that there's no zen in parallel parking. So when you think about it, when you're driving your car and you go to parallel park, you're not telling people jokes as you're trying to spin the wheel and get into alignment with the curb.
Yeah.
It really is a stressful situation. And so I thought, how do we get from parallel parking to a more whimsical mindset? And I looked at, I was trying to figure what are the foundations of being whimsical. I think one of them is peace. I think that you need to tap into the calmness of your soul, whether it's through meditation or praying or whatever it is. You need to be peaceful as a foundation for being whimsical. If you're at odds with your own voice in your head, you're probably not going to be that funny, probably. And then the other part is confidence. I think that the other part of it is like with your family, you tend to be your guards down a little bit more. You have more confidence because they've heard all your bad jokes or they know all your, so you can just be yourself. So foundationally, if you're peaceful and you have confidence at that particular moment, then you're more likely to be able to emanate whimsicality. I even like the name whimsical because it kind of starts with an H, a whimsical. It's a fun word to say. Um, but where does your whimsical nature come from? And I think there's two, maybe three things. The first one is culture, and I think that your culture influences your sense of um, calm, sense of peace, sense of confidence, and it affects how it comes out of you. So I was thinking about all the famous Canadian um, comics, and so the Canadian culture, I think, with its values and sort of a self-deprecating approach to life,
Yeah.
is part of what makes us who we are in terms of when we interact. I noticed that first when I started working with Disney, I'd go down to the States and I'd be talking to people and just making kind of subtle, quiet jokes and not smiling, and they didn't get it at all. So I realized very quickly I had to change my approach to business people in the United States versus business people in Canada. But if you look at the comedians, um, and it's a small country too. So I was thinking Jim Carrey, who I actually have had lunch with when I was a kid, when I was in high school, because he went to the same high school as me. Very quiet kid, very unassuming, very self-deprecating, nice guy, almost a mouse at the table. He was very quiet. Eugene Levy, John Candy, Mike Myers, Seth Rogen, Dan Aykroyd, Russell Peters, Will Arnett, and one of my favorites actually is a guy called Norm Macdonald who's passed away. But he had this really interesting, rambling style of being funny. And so some people are funny because they tell jokes, like Stephen Wright. It's a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it. That's a particular style of being funny, being whimsical. Norm Macdonald's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. So he would go in and he'd start a story, and he talked about it, and he'd say stuff like, um, I don't know, there's this thing that happened in Germany. I don't know if you heard about it. There was this guy called Hitler, and he started to explain to you who Hitler was, and like everyone knows who Hitler was, but as part of his delivery, and he'd go on talk shows and he'd talk for like 5 or 10 minutes, and he's telling a joke, and he would go through this, he'd meander all over the place. It was just funny trying to follow where he was going, and you get to the end, and the punchline wasn't that funny, but how he got there was what was really hilarious about it. So it's a particular style of of communication that is whimsical, and he for me that he epitomizes whimsical. Um, and then the other part, one of the other parts that affects your sense of whimsy is your upbringing, your family.
Yeah.
Your family keeps you honest, and they inform what your sense of humor is like. So I come from a Irish Catholic family in Northern Ontario, so there's a lot of things going on there. Um, but basically, it's a storytelling culture. It's about understatement. It's about self-deprecation, and it's just playful teasing. So that's the Irish Catholic thing, a little bit of guilt sprinkled on top of it. And then you go to Northern Ontario, Thunder Bay, which is a beautiful city, but it's very stoic compared to other small towns. It's not a
Uh,
small town; it's a city, but it's very dry sense of humor. Um, um, Heavily influenced by the First Nations in that area because they
yeah.
have a very dry sense of humor typically. And so I found that even moving from Thunder Bay to Toronto, which is a
Yeah.
big Canadian city, I also had to back off because I still was too sarcastic for them. So these things affect who we are in terms of
Yeah.
how we communicate with people in a whimsical way. Um, the other thing that where it comes from, sometimes I think whimsy comes from necessity. So the other thing that I was thinking about was there was a movie in 1997 called Life is Beautiful with Roberto
Yeah.
Benigni, and it was a very poignant movie about a boy and his father who were in a German concentration camp, and he was actually hiding the boy because to save him, but the boy was like 6, and his whole the movie was him trying to keep it light for his son. So under the stress of being in a concentration camp, he's trying to make his son laugh and be happy and have the best life he can at the time. So it's an interesting. There's a number of different interesting things that.
And even, like, I have to say, because even when he won the Oscar, if you remember, he hopped up on the chair. Everyone else was, very, composed because
Yes.
it was a formal event, and then he hopped up on the chair, and he was hugging and kissing everybody, and it was, like, the most whimsical, magical. Oh, I love when you bring those things. I didn't know what you were gonna talk about today, and I've just been all over the map with you. Yeah, so
Well,
sorry
I'm
anyway,
just
but yeah,
making that.
just so whimsical.
I'm just making it up as I go along anyway, but um, the gravity of the situation affects it too. So I remember thinking back when the every this is one of the things that having kids is
Yeah.
there's a way to deal with kids. So kids fall down, they skin their knee, whatever they happen, and how you react to them actually affects how they become as adults. So for my family, my dad did and what I've done with our boys is they fall down, they scrape their knee, they're upset, they got the look on their face like, do I need to go to the hospital? And you just go up to them and say, hey, how's your knee? Do I need to get the hammer? I got a saw over there. I can fix it real quickly. Don't worry about it. I can do it really quickly. And then they end up laughing about it quickly. So it gets
Yeah.
them out of the thought of, so that kind of
Yeah.
light approach to things
Absolutely.
is ingrained in them. And I'll just tell
Yeah.
you one more story quickly, but
Yeah.
'cause I have a whole bunch written here. But the one that I was thinking of was when the boys were young.
Yeah.
We tried to celebrate all the holidays, and it's always been a big thing in our family. We talked about St. Patrick's Day. What do you do for St. Patrick's Day? Because basically, it's in reality in North America, it's a drinking holiday, and people wear green. That's basically the whole thing. So
Yeah.
we found some stories, and then we created this mythology around leprechauns for the boys. And for a number of years when they were young, we would the boys and I would make leprechaun traps because the leprechauns came on St. Patrick's Day, and they have a pot of gold, and if you catch them you can get the pot of gold. And so they would create these elaborate like mousetrap type things where they would catch the leprechauns. And then we added onto it the fact that okay, so you got to remember though, once you get if you see a leprechaun, you have to keep eye contact with them and you can't blink because they're very fast. If you blink, if
Yeah.
you're looking at them, they can't go anywhere. But if you blink, they'll go away. And
Yeah.
so I said, when I was little, I actually saw a leprechaun when I was a little boy, and I blinked too quickly and he went away. And the next morning, Nathaniel, who's our 18-year-old rock and roll guy, he now he was a little kid, and he woke up in the morning and said, "Daddy, I think I saw a leprechaun last night. Out of the corner of my eye, I didn't see him very well, but so this creates a sense of fun in the world." So
We've definitely created that, and it's funny, if you remember, we got that book from the library. I cannot remember what it was, but I used to read it in an Irish accent.
yeah,
And it was all about that, like, yeah, it was just, oh, there's so much there, Todd. So much. Just thank you. Wow. I love when we do this together. We just celebrated our 21st wedding anniversary, and we've been best friends for a long, long time. And when we do these talks together, I kind of prepare what I'm chatting about. We kind of have an outline, and then Todd, I just say, this is how I'm going to open it up for you. And I love it, like what you bring to the table and how you think about it so differently than the way I do. And I learn something every single time. And we've had such a fun time with our boys creating that whimsical nature. And you're right. Culture, it's just a great way to think about it, our upbringing, our culture. Thank you, Greta. Sorry, little
well,
happy
there's
anniversary.
there's
And
some there's some happy St. Fool's Day. We used to call it instead of
that's right.
April Fool's Day, it was St. Fool's Day. We had
Yeah.
a bunch of those too, but we won't go into those now. There's lots of them. But
There's so many. And it's funny, this comes from, we selected these values way back when, in January, December. I think I went into a meditation and we came up with the different months all the way to the end of the year and what they would be. And every single time we find, don't we, Todd, that as we dive in, we've covered values as a whole, we've covered kindness, presence, patience, curiosity, adventure, creativity. And then when whimsy came along, it's interesting how we don't really know what's going to come of it. But now that we immerse for 30 to 31 days in each one of these values, how it comes to the surface is incredible. And so we didn't know that our August would be whimsical, but it ended up being quite whimsical in a new and an incredible way. And so my perspective on whimsy, well, definitely joined with yours. It's funny, I looked at it in a completely different way. And this whole month, it's been about letting go, loosening, lightening. We've had some pretty ambitious dreams on the go for 21 years since we met. And Todd, you in your own right before we met, and myself as well. And you have these goals and you have visions of what you want to create. But what's happened through the Soulful Way over these last number of months, and particularly heading into whimsy, is the loosening of the grip. And in order to be whimsical, just like you were saying, Todd, we have to be able to be confident, but also to let go of our grip on what our expectations are for outcomes. And we've dabbled for a number of years in this surrender adventure, but even more so in the last few months. So the whimsical, although it was in the back of our minds that this was the theme for August, it started to creep in like end of July. And so I got a call from our beautiful David Nagy, launched his book, St. David's Letters to the Roman. He's been a wonderful client over a year and a half. We were on the phone and he said, Jen, we're working on this launch event. I'm a big one to celebrate whimsically what's going on and what our clients are doing. And so we were talking on the phone. We'd kind of had this outline for what his event, his launch event would look like. And he said, I finally did it. I actually booked the old courthouse ballroom and there's a stage there for you to talk. And he said, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I got off the phone and thought and turned to Todd and said, I think I need to go. He's been such a wonderful support for our business. We've had such a deep dive into his work. I just want to go and celebrate with him. And even though we had a million other things going on, that whimsical yes, just embracing that moment, it started a whole rolling of experiences that we could never have anticipated. And so, in the lightness of it all, the practicality of it says we have things going on with the boys. We're going on a family vacation. We have to get everybody ready for university. There's lots to do running both our businesses. And then all of a sudden, we just said yes to this. And then I went into meditation. Everything started snowballing for good. And so I went into meditation and out came the idea of doing the art of storytelling, bringing your words to the world workshop. And so in that whimsical fashion, I called up one of my most whimsical friends, Helen Liba, and she lives in Thunder Bay, Ontario, where David was doing the launch halfway across Canada. And I said, Helen, what do you think of this idea? I said, just give it a little meditate. What's your inkling about that? And she said, Jen, this is perfect timing. It's incredible. Whatever I can do to help, I want to do. And without getting into all the details, it just started this beautiful flow that was so easy and so natural and completely trusting. And then Erin May, who I saw popped on the call, welcome, welcome, Erin. She runs the Body Mind Center in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Helen reached out to her. It's a beautiful venue with such great energy. Erin's been doing this for over 31 years, bringing people together in community at the Body Mind Center in one location and then had to expand. And so it was a perfect location for us to wander down into Marina Park, which is right overlooking Lake Superior. It's right on Lake Superior. It overlooks the Sleeping Giant, which is definitely the eighth wonder of the world. If you haven't checked it out, you have to see it. Everything started to come together. So for the flights came together, we got a great deal. Then, Carrie happened to be available. It worked out timing with my family that was in Thunder Bay to see them the second week. David's whole event started to come together beautifully. Everyone pulled together to support. For the art of storytelling, Erin was just gung ho. She got everybody involved, putting posters out. Helen was putting posters out. Everything because it was easy, because there was no loosening, there was no grip. I just loosened up the whole grip on it all and thought, however this unfolds, it unfolds. That's when whimsy can take place and take over. And every aspect from David's launch with about 60 people showed up to his launch, totally unexpected. Thank goodness there was enough room in the ballroom. Totally unexpected, but it was just an incredible display of celebration. He did a wonderful talk. Every single person lined up to buy a book and have a personal connection with him. People waited for an hour and a half in line to chat with him. It was incredible. He was featured on Superior Morning in Thunder Bay because I'd reached out to all the media. All the media was incredibly responsive. That doesn't always happen in my business. The stars aligned. He was interviewed on Superior Morning before the event. He was interviewed by Dougal Media on the night of the event. It was just this wild unfolding. And David was giddy as a schoolboy, and his wife Maria was just beautiful, and it all came together. And at the end of the night, he looked at me and said, I've had a lot of beautiful moments in my life. This is one of the best. This is one of those best moments of my life. And to be able to be in that with someone, that it was just a surrender to it all. It was whimsical, tiny white lights, a beautiful ballroom with chandeliers. It was an incredible experience. And then I turned to the art of storytelling. So we get David all launched and going, and that's beautiful. And then we turn to the art of storytelling. And we had it was a little slower to grow because there was the Red Rock festival, like the music festival, was happening that weekend. And so if there was about 10 people, and we'd ordered 22 books. And so it started to grow slowly, and there were about 10 folks that were interested. And I just thought, that's beautiful. Whoever shows up for this event is incredible. Well, over 3 days, I started getting phone calls and emails, phone calls and emails. 23 people filled the room. Two people, my sister and Helen, who were our organizers, they had to share a book. It was just spectacular. And not only that, like you were saying, Todd, about just that, the dry sense of humor and stuff in Thunder Bay, that's the way it was. But because Aaron has been bringing this beautiful spirit to Thunder Bay and gathering. There's something about that Canadian Shield. There is the most soulful, incredible people, some that I've ever met, and gathered in that beautiful place. And it was just an unfolding. I have been doing this for 30 years. And it was one of the most extraordinary workshops of my life. And it was because of the heart and soul of the people that attended and the whimsical nature with which we ran it all, heading down to the waterfront, wandering in silence to the spirit garden, circling around. You'll see all the photos later, I'll share them, circling around this beautiful fire, not burning, but this beautiful fire pit in the beautiful sunshine, and the sleeping giant off in the distance, overlooking everything that we did. And as we sat in this circle, I normally don't pick the youngest person in the room in this circle to go first, but something inside me said, turn to this young girl beside you and let her go first. Ask her if she'd like to. And I turned to this beautiful girl. She's 22 years old, beautiful First Nations, incredible Indigenous heart, soul, just a sparkling spirit in the world. I turned to her and said, would you like to go first? And she just opened up and poured out her heart. And as a result, as we went around with 22 other people in that circle, most people felt, in fact, almost all felt that desire, that safety, that beauty to just share from their souls. And so that's a little longer than I expected to go on about it, but I just the whole essence of it all began with this whimsical desire to just embrace life as it comes, to have fun, to enjoy, and even though called to purpose, to just let it ride, let it unfold the way that it should, and let it unfold the way that it's meant to without a grip on it. And so it's been just an unbelievable. And I think Todd's wearing his whimsical shirt. That's one of my favorite shirts. It always makes me feel like, you just like there's this whimsical nature to it. Like when we got dressed today.
Yeah, and this shirt is the one that makes Jen cringe very quickly. It's kind of my homage to Hawkeye Pierce from MASH. So
I love it. And not only that, it's our boys' favorite shirt. So whenever they come home, they steal it from Todd. And then when we were out, just have to show you. So when Carrie and I were out, I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of too bright in the light. But anyway, it's a dandelion with, when you blow, all the little seeds flow into the universe. And so I bought Carrie a ring for her. She bought this for me. And then she gave me this beautiful bracelet about twin souls. And everything in our lives can be whimsical when we see it as such. There have been some other things behind the scenes that have been happening in our world that we won't get into in detail, but there have been challenges also in the last few weeks. And we have just decided to embrace those challenges with a sense of whimsy, with a sense of wonder about how we can grow and develop and how we can encourage one another in health moving forward. And so to come from this place of whimsy is not just a word, and it's not just a frivolity. It's not just when children are around. It's not just when Monty Python takes the stage. It is a way of life. And that's why we wanted to share today. That's why what we want to encourage in you. So I'm going to go through the little comments. Oh, I see my Carrie-ness, my beautiful sis. That was incredible. The whole whimsical nature. I did skeet shooting with my nephews this last week. I've never held a gun in my life. I did skeet shooting. You know, when people go pull and you like hit the target. It was crazy. I was on an episode of Yellowstone. It was so wild and we were laughing, carrying on. And I actually did e-foiling, which my nephew has an e-foil. If you don't know what that is, I had no clue either. It's like a boogie board that's on a fin that rises up out of the water and shoots across the water. Scary as heck. But I used to love to jet ski when I was a kid. And although at my age, at 54, I could have said no. And my brother-in-law was, Jenny, you know, you've had a stroke and heart surgery and a head injury. Like, you should not be going on that thing. And the whimsical part of me said, I will not allow an older person to move in. I will be careful, but I will still try. And my nephew showed me how to ride it. And I just stayed on my stomach and then I got up on my knees. That was feat enough. Carrie did a bunch of videos on it, but it was just incredible. And as I became more confident, I felt like a 25-year-old again. And it's good to push ourselves in little ways that are, you know, within safe boundaries, but to push ourselves to do the things we did when we were young or that are new, that are fun, and to never stop being whimsical, having fun, seeing life with wonder, because it will change and enrich our lives in ways that we cannot even anticipate. So, Greta, I see your little happy face. Sarah saying, yay. Oh, that's beautiful. Rebecca said, wonderful how this came to whimsical fruition, Jennifer. I'm so happy you got to work with David on his book and had your incredible contributions to his work and separately present your own works, The Art of Storytelling. I'm so proud of you. Rebecca, you have been a whimsical, beautiful, soulful friend at every step since we met along the Soulful Way. And I'm wildly grateful for you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Sue Ann House, we did not get a chance to see each other in Thunder Bay because you're out at your beautiful camp, but I'm just so grateful that we get to share this. And next time I'm in Thunder Bay, we will. Great launch, said Sarah. Leah, so lovely to be back connected. I missed your gorgeous, sparkling heart. Good on you, said Sarah. Love ya. Thank you, Todd, for your insights, views, thoughts, and experience about Whimsy. Rebecca said to you, sweetheart. Melanie, great to see you again, and all the happy anniversary congratulations from all of you. I so appreciate that. Greta was saying, like your dad, that's the same as her own. And Rosemary, welcome. I think you're new to our Soulful Way. That's beautiful. Greta said floating. So, whimsy floating, absolutely. Victoria said joy, welcome. Sarah said fun. Thank you for all the comments. I always feel like we're more in the room together when we get to be able to do that together. So I really appreciate that. So the next question for all of you is, where is whimsy taking you next? So that whimsical nature, that's a total outpouring of all the ways in which whimsy shows up for us. So where is whimsy taking you next in your own life? In your personal relationships, in your beautiful relationship with yourself, in the next endeavor that you're going to embrace. I know there's a few on here that are aspiring authors from the workshop, or if you're watching this recording, where are you going to take whimsy in your writing, in your creations, in your story? Where are you going to take whimsy in the world, in your communities, and how you serve and how you show up with purpose? And so I'm going to turn the question to all of you. If there's any little inklings you want to give, it's a little quieter today. So if you want to pop in your thoughts on that, that would be amazing. And then Todd, why don't you talk about where whimsy's going to take you next, my love?
Well, there's a couple of things. I saw a short clip. I'll digress and get back to it, but it was the Graham Norton show. So if you don't know the Graham Norton show, it's a British interview show, and it's very popular in the UK. We get it over here a little bit in Canada. And Graham Norton is a really interesting, a little bit flamboyant kind of an interviewer. All the guests have drinks in their hands. They're drinking wine, they're drinking scotch. It's a party, and but it's really light. It's really fun. So anyway, I was watching it the other week, and they had the five guys. Yeah, Sarah, you know that, Graham Norton. They had the five guys from Monty Python on. So they were all, so picture this is five guys in their 80s being interviewed. And Graham Norton starts off by saying, I don't usually have five guys on at the same time unless it's a boy band. They all laughed. He said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you boy band questions. And they all started to giggle a little bit. And then, so the first one was, which one of you has trouble with the dance moves? And John Cleese puts his hand up right away, and they're all laughing at him. He said, "I just can't do that kind of." Anyway, they're joking about it. And then the next question was, um, I just lost the train of thought. The next question was, oh, which one of you is most likely to attract the female attention? And they're all kind of sitting there looking straight forward. And then Michael Palin kind of gets a grin on the face, and then they all start looking at Michael Palin and laughing. So obviously, there are a bunch of people that they really enjoy their lives. They really enjoy what they're doing. And then at one point, they ask another question, and John Cleese gets all indignant and walks off the stage and like pounds off like he does. And then so they keep talking, and the funniest part of the whole thing was that you could see in the background that he comes back, he's on his hands and knees, and he's crawling on the stage, trying not to be noticed, and then he pops his head up between the other guys. And what I loved about it most was that um, they seemed to be genuinely enjoying each other's company. They were just five men in their 70s, 80s, and they're just like there's the grins on their faces was really even John Cleese. Typically he keeps a straight face in his whole shtick, but he was like smiling. He was so happy to be with these guys and just having this experience again. So anyway,
So
where does it take us now? I think for me that kind of thing inspires me to be whimsical because you're not. Um, it's not your first nature to say, okay, I'm going to be whimsical in this situation, or I'm going to approach the day in a whimsical way. But I think that the more I think about it, the more I've been doing it, and I have been doing it sort of leading up to this more and more the last year or so. For me, it's in the writing, and I've started to do. I've done a couple of chapters here and there, and a couple of things, and
yay.
I really enjoy the process. But I can't do it in a serious manner. I have to do it with a sort of a light, sarcastic, tongue-in-cheek kind of approach to it. So I think and that carries through to the family and to dealing with the boys. And the boys they're 18, 20-year old, and they have their own opinions about things. And I'm not used to having to deal with their opinions before that because they would just not say it or they would, And now, so I'm okay. No, I gotta treat them more like adults
Yeah.
because they are adults. They're very smart boys, young
Mhm.
men, and they're very funny and they tease. And I have to sort of step in sometimes when they're teasing mom too much because just a self-protection thing. But anyway, that's kind of where it's leading me.
Yeah. I think that's true. We've definitely loosened even the grip on the expectations of our boys and what they will be. And there is that transition that happens for those of you that are parents or even, just birthing anything into the world. There's a stage where you're holding on to it and you're encouraging it and you're trying to guide and lead it. And then there's a time when you need to let go. You need to release that grip on it, that trust that it will unfold. And that's what's happening in our business, but it's also happening in our boys. And our boys actually made a comment about the fact that they've noticed a difference in Todd and I as they've grown. That now we're more friends, that they're seeing us grow in new ways. And then it's less the parenting, although there's still a need for support and guidance and love and encouragement, but there's less of that and more of just celebration of where you're going. And even when there's challenges that come up or there's mistakes made, it's just you're going to be okay. And you just try to lighten it up and trust that it will work out and try another way and adapt and learn and grow. And as we've done that, there's more ease and more joy and more whimsy in our world, isn't there, Todd?
Yes.
Phenomenal. And we're heading into a really whimsical time, even with Mad Hero Productions and publishing. And we've been shaping it and shifting it and really adapting it to whatever the need is out in the world. And that's been incredible. And so we've now our tagline is align, create, matter. And this idea of aligning with that voice within, with that wild wisdom, with listening to that voice within has been so much of not just the soulful way, but is really as became so apparent and brilliant when we were doing the art of storytelling workshop, is that alignment is so essential as the books emerge. It's like Michelangelo with the sculpture of David. And the fact that the David is already in there, it's just to chip away at the marble on the outside and to allow that story, that calling, that inkling, that delight, that whimsy to emerge. And then aligning and then creating from that place. Then there's something different. We talked about it lots in the workshop that I write for different publications, I write for different clients, and sometimes it's straight for the world. It's just straight, it's technical, that's the way that it is. This is your audience. This is the message that needs to come forth. That's what the client wants. And then there's the whimsical, soulful writing, where you go within and you align with that voice within and you take the time for rituals and practices that allow you to come to that place of center and connection so that what flows from you is really from that place of what you desire and that place of perspective. And that's where the whimsy enters in because you feel that confidence and that connection with your message and what you're trying to bring to the world, whether that's expertise, whether that is, hello, whether that's expertise, whether that is, a fiction story, whether that's a memoir, whatever that is, whether the story is for healing or expansion in your business, whatever it is, it really flows from a different place when you align and then you create from that spot, from that attunement to what's happening in your soul. And that's how we matter. Because when we create from that place, it's impactful. People can feel the authenticity, they can feel the genuine nature of what you're delivering. And so we just really having these conversations about these values just deepens that practice, deepens that connection. And we're just so grateful to be back and to connecting with all of you. And I'm just going to look and see if anyone kind of made comments. I'm whimsy to my core. That's Greta. I know you are, girl, which probably drove my mother crazy. I hear you. But the thing is, in the Mad Hero production and world of Mad Hero living, those are our cape abilities. I talk about them lots in my workshops. Your cape ability is the thing that probably drove everyone around you crazy when you were little, but it's actually your greatest gift and your most heroic quality. Mine was communication. I used to go home with 100 lines from my grade 6 teacher every single day. And so thank goodness I could turn that thing that drove him crazy into a career. And your whimsy, sweet Greta, is just exponential and beautiful. So I'm so grateful that you just stuck with it. And it's beautiful, honey. So love Graham Norton. Sarah said, absolutely love that. Sarah, in making new friends, trying my Spanish, but I find whimsy exists within relationships. Absolutely. I love your writing and your sharing of your simple, deep, profound, beautiful life in Spain. Absolutely, Sarah, because it's the whimsy that happens when you go and you watch a football game together, or the whimsy that happens when you get together with a neighbor and you have a cup of tea, and when you're learning Spanish. These are the moments that are real in our lives. These are the moments that matter most. We can think that it's about the push and the goal and the vision and striving for something, but life's happening in the in between. And that's keeping that whimsy alive allows us to stay present in the wonder, to see the flower growing through the crack in the sidewalk, which was a photo that I posted today. Taking the time for meditation. I love that. It absolutely does. And I love the whimsical nature that exists in the relationships that we have with all of you. It is a highlight of our lives to come on week to week, and especially at the end of the month and that last Saturday to come together and really see you face to face and be in community with you because you make our lives feel more whimsical and more fun. And that's enriched us on levels that we can't even communicate. Todd, yes, go
And I think
share.
it's really important. I think we fall into patterns as adults where we edit our thoughts and edit what we're going to say out loud because everybody has that funny thing that they're thinking in the back of their mind or is that a joke they want to make. And oftentimes
Mhm.
because there's people around, you just forget or you just stop doing it. You go out. I don't want to make somebody embarrassed. And it's like when
Yeah.
Sarah came on for the first time, I just wanted to make Olivia Newton-John song jokes like I'm hopelessly devoted to you kind of thing, right? But I didn't know her well enough. I know her better now that she wouldn't be embarrassed by that. But that's the kind of thing that you kind of find that line of do I want to engage in that or do I not want to engage in that because I'm going to make somebody uncomfortable? And really, I think if we edit less, that's the way to go.
Yeah. And I feel like you all make us feel that way. And there's a bit of a joke that's going around, Sarah, about the fact that the first time we all got on a call, I don't really pay attention to like celebrity or anything like that. And it was funny because we had our first call with you, Sarah, and you were saying, well, I'm not quite as dynamic as my sister. And I was like, oh, of course you are. Like, you're amazing. And I just thought, wow, your sister must be really lovely that you would compare yourself to her. And I thought, of course you are, darling. And then we got off the call and Todd looked at me and he goes, you do know who Sarah's sister is, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, Olivia, like her last name's Newton John. And I laughed hysterically because I was just, Sarah, you just always have been Sarah to me. And I've just read and heard beautiful things. And even your wife, Heather, wrote a beautiful article about that connection with Olivia. But it's just us. It's just us living and sharing. And you've made us feel so comfortable. And Todd, I love all your jokes that come out in our flow. And we just want to encourage you in that because these are our people.
Don't
And then
encourage me too much.
yeah. Oh, I will. I will. I want them to see all of you the way I do, baby. Leah said, hey, Jenny, so great to have you back again. Proud of you for all your achievements. Aw, here's to many more whimsical adventures and successes, dearest. That's beautiful. Thank you, darling. It is incredible how much we missed you. We had such an amazing time in Thunder Bay. I Todd was here, but he was piped in and did an incredible talk about publishing, self-publishing and informing people in that way. Being in that room, I just have to say, we just found more of our people. And so some of them are coming on to the Soulful Way. Our whimsical development in this next while is we're going to be doing a writing circle. It's called the Art of Storytelling Writers Circle. We're going to be doing that in Thunder Bay so they can build community. I'm going to be talking with Aaron about how they come together physically, but also be doing it on Zoom. We're building that. We're going to be doing the Soul of Thunder Bay, which is an anthology, a collaboration with people putting in stories of the power of that city. And then as we develop the art of storytelling, the workshop we just did, it's such a beautiful template that we'll know the right time to put that online and we're just kind of flowing with it. But it's more than I could ever have imagined. And anyone that tells you, we've had different levels to the success of our careers. Anyone that tells you it happens overnight is crazy and not in that good way. It's like if we have worked so diligently behind the scenes, so passionately behind the scenes, as is true of all of us. And those of you that are building right now in whatever capacity, whimsically and otherwise, just keep going. Just keep going because if you can build from that place of aligning, of connecting and creating from there, and then just trusting and following the whimsical wonder that unfolds, then when it's time, when the stars align, it will come to fruition in a way that is absolutely meant to be. We just have to get our fear, we have to get our concerns and our worries out of the way, and we just have to keep skipping along that beautiful trail whimsically until it comes our way and trust that everyone we're gathering along the way is just a treasure for our hearts, as all of you are. And I feel like now we're building towards a bigger community in the world and just sharing all of these beautiful values and ideas that keep us centered and grounded in a world that can be a little intense sometimes. And so this is our safe haven, this is our safe place. Yes, good stuff. That's a big topic. Good stuff, Todd. That's a big topic. Congratulations, Todd, on your talk and publishing. Also, you have a great humor. They love you, darling. Sounds amazing. Soulshine Mystic. Hi, Carla. Great to have you. Thank you. Just Sarah. Just Sarah, yes. And just perfectly, beautifully, Sarah. Todd, anything else you want to add to send off our beautiful crew?
I'll leave with one line about whimsy, and I think it's even in the times when things are challenging. Back in the 80s, Ronald Reagan, there was an assassination attempt, and he was actually shot. And he went to the hospital, and he's famous for the line that's been corroborated. And he just before he went into surgery, he grabbed the doctor's arm and said, "Please tell me you're a Republican." And so, even under that kind of stress and duress, it was a good a breaker for the doctor and make the doctor feel good. And apparently, the doctor was actually a Democrat, and he said, "Well, today we're all Republicans." So it's a beautiful way to use whimsy to navigate life's difficulties.
Yeah. Bringing people together, just keeping things light. So I just encourage you this week, folks, to align with whatever it is that makes your heart dance. Create from that space and then know that you deeply matter, not just to us, but every single person that you touch in the world. Thank you, Carrie. All is so delightfully unfolding, Jenny and Todd. Whimsically wonderful. Just beautiful to have you here. My sister Carrie was there and just such a beautiful help during the whole workshop. And she's our newest member of the Soulful Way. So please welcome beautiful Carrie, my sis. Just loving all of you and grateful to be back. Next Sunday, we're going to flow with Whimsy, but we have no idea what that talk's going to be about. We haven't even thought about it. We're just back in the groove. We might do a little interview if you know someone that's whimsical that we should interview. Normally, we have things all planned out. This month, we're just flowing. I do have an article coming out this week for you. Talks about whimsy in all the different ways. Sarah says, welcome, Carrie. And you and your beautiful family have been a beautiful spark in our sisterhood as well, too. Yay, Carrie, welcome. That's great. And so we're all building, even in the midst of everything else going on, we are building towards our last Saturday of the month, the Soul of Whimsy, and getting together with all of you. And I hope that you can put that on your calendar. That's going to be 10 to 12 Pacific Standard Time on the last Saturday of the month. We'll have more in the email this week, but I just hope we can all come together for that's kind of what we build for, so that we can all be together and then talking about how we can inject and how we can bring more whimsy into our lives, into our businesses, into our relationships in all the different ways. And that's the hi, Carrie. Lovely exchange of gifts. You and your sister Jennifer gifted each other. Very touching, beautiful. Welcome to the Whimsy Soulful family, Carrie. Yay, Carrie, welcome. Oh, thanks, guys. Just love you all so much. And thank you for those that are new. And for those of you that are joining on the recording, there will be a link somewhere in this spot that we'll have. If you want to join the Soulful Way, we'd love to have you. We'll look forward to seeing all of you next Sunday, and certainly gathering the last Saturday of the month. Just wishing you whimsical, beautiful moments in your life. Todd, do you want to say goodbye too?
Peace out.
Lots of love, everybody. Whimsical out. Bye, everyone. See you next
Bye.
week.